someone that I had been exploring with started offering destination retreats to people, and she asked if I would be willing to be involved with her with those. And my role was to teach people chanting. I would bring my harmonium to the location that we had these events. And in the mornings, I would teach people chanting, and we would then sit in the alive vibration that we create together when we chant. I invited everybody to be available to that Shakti field that you create when you chant. Instead of calling it meditation, I just called it sitting in the alive vibration that we create together by chanting. And then after the chanting and the sitting in the alive vibration, I would open it up for sharing, and people would share and sometimes ask questions about things. And that was our flow each day. Was we would start with the chanting, and then there were other activities that happened throughout the day. And then at night we would have chanting. And one of these destination retreats that she organized and asked me to be a part of was on the north shore of Maui, Hawaii. A beautiful ecological retreat, which are sometimes called eco retreats. A person who had been invited to purchase some land that was very sacred land to the kahunas, the elders of the Polynesian lineage. And in cooperation, they would still be able to have their ceremonies on this land, overlooking the ocean from up above. The area that this land is right at the center of a bay overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean, and raised up above the water, probably 80, 100 feet up above, looking at the water down below, this beautiful, beautiful place on planet Earth on the north shore of Maui. And he then would also open it up and let spiritual retreats happen there. And she had heard about it, and she organized it, a 7-day retreat there. Each morning we would chant, and I was teaching everybody an Om Namah Shivaya chant. And about the 4th day of these 7 days that we were going to be there, I just had a sense that it would be good to let everybody, all the participants, have a longer lunch break. More time, like a couple hours, 2.5 hours, to just really be out on the land and see what you notice and be available and open and notice how the majesty of existence is in every aspect of reality. And so we did that day. And after lunch, I was sitting out on the edge of the cliff overlooking the bay. I had found through the days a really wonderful spot to sit. I was just naturally drawn to sit there. And it was a place right out at the edge of the cliff where you were at the edge of the cliff, but not dangerously too close where you might fall off, And there was a big rock that you could have as a back support to sit up against and overlook this beautiful crystalline blue Pacific Ocean water. And I was sitting there after lunch, and someone saw me there and said hello to me, and she is from Hawaii. She was born and raised in Hawaii. She's a Hawaiian person, and she had heard about this retreat, and she had been a participant in the retreat for all the days that we had been there. And on that day, during that lunch break, she saw me there sitting at the edge of the cliff, and she said, "Mitch, I'm really enjoying the Om Namah Shivaya chant that you're sharing with us. And it just feels so familiar to me. And I love it so much. I've almost got the whole chant down. Could you chant it for me a bit so that I can get the hang of the second part?" I said, "Oh, sure." So I gestured to my right would you like to sit down? With a hand gesture inviting her to sit, and she was interested in that invitation. So she sat down beside me. She's to my right and I'm to her left. And we're both facing out toward the bay. Beautiful water out there. So beautiful down below us. And so we began talking about the second part, and she sang to me the part that she did know. And then I said, okay, now let's just flow a little bit on the second part. So we were just kind of like refining the parts that she didn't know. Then she had the hang of it. So then we just organically, spontaneously just started chanting together. And we're both facing the water, looking out toward the water, and we're just chanting this beautiful Om Namah Shivaya chant. And we chanted and we chanted and we chanted for probably 35, 40 minutes. Very wonderful, long, sustained flow. We both just dropped in and the Shakti was flowing. So we both enjoyed that very much. And the chant slowed down and came to a natural completion. And right in that moment, I could feel that it was time to open my eyes. And I opened my eyes. And right in that moment, she was opening her eyes. And then I noticed down below us, on the surface of the ocean down there below us, all of a sudden there was this perfect circle that was appearing on the surface of the water, this perfect circle. And I was just amazed, like, how could that be happening? And I look over to see if she's noticing it. And right in that moment, when I'm looking over to see if she's noticing it, she's looking at me to see if I'm noticing it. And she said to me, do you see that perfect circle? I said, yes. Right in that moment, we both looked at the circle appearing on the water, and a whale rose up. You know, when they come up to get air, this whale rose up. And out of the side of the whale's body, where you might imagine the heart of a whale would be, there was a blue light coming right into us, like a laser beam, but big enough that our whole bodies were being beamed in this pure love, this pure gratitude of the whale, beaming us with this blue light. Pure love, pure gratitude. If I was to give it words, the communication, the transmission from this mama whale, somehow I knew she was a mama whale. The communication was, thank you both so much for sharing your pure, sweet hearts with this beautiful chant. I have enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much. It was gratitude and love and kindness and playfulness and eternity and wisdom and wow. And we're just being beamed, this blue light that's just beaming us with, and we're both crying, laughing. It lasted for minutes and minutes and minutes as she swam from our left to our right in front of us, down below us in the bay. It wasn't just a few seconds. It was minutes. I don't know how many minutes, but we were beamed with this loving blue light for quite some time. And when she would go back under the water, you would see the blue light from underneath the water coming out of the side of her body. And then when she would raise back up the water above to get air again, you would see it above the surface of the water. It was a continuous beam of pure love, this beautiful blue light. Amazing, life-changing, indescribable. The words cannot in any way fully describe this experience. And as she continued to swim from our left to our right for minutes and minutes and minutes, then you could see she turned to her left and started heading out into the deeper ocean. And then, you could see the light still emanating from the side of her body. And then she went deeper, deeper, deeper. And then you couldn't see the light anymore. And she swam out into the deeper part of the ocean. And we're both just still and calm and speechless. There weren't any words for quite a while from either one of us. And then after some amount of time, I could hear her take a big in-breath and a big out-breath to my right, and she said to me, Mitch. And I said, yes. She said, as you know, I was born here and raised here in Hawaii, on Maui, and throughout all the Hawaiian Islands. This is a known thing. It's referred to as the blue light of the whales. We just experienced the blue light of the whales. She said, in our lineage, the elders speak of this and say it's a very rare and wonderful and lovely experience. And if you're in a open, still, true place within your heart essence, you can experience this blue light of the whales, this transmission, this communication, this sharing of the pure heart essence that they are. I'm blown away. My mind is blown, she said. She said, I need to go make some phone calls. And I could tell she was, probably wanting to call some family members, her Hawaiian relatives, and let her know what had just happened. This very mystical, pure experience. So she stood up and she gestured for a hug. So I stood up and we had a wonderful hug and we cried some more together. This gratitude cry, so beautiful and lovely. And then she went on her way to go make her phone calls. In that moment, instead of sitting back down, I went down on my hands and knees into a full pranam, where you go down on your hands and knees and you bow your head to the ground, lowering your head and putting your arms out in front of you. And I just was thanking the mama whale for this powerful transmission of pure love in this blue light. And as I was in full pranam, lowering my head, and in the full pranam, you're lowering your head and you're greeting the being from your heart. Because if someone were to look at you from the side, your heart is higher than your head when you're in a full pranam. So you're greeting, when you pranam, you're greeting the being from your heart and being willing to let go of the limited thoughts and beliefs of your mind. So I was in full pranam, my arms were out in front of me, and I started to feel something very smooth, round and very smooth and solid under the pad of my right ring finger. That very sensitive part underneath your fingernail. It was round and smooth and noticeably different than the dirt area beside it. So I opened my eyes to see, what is this that I'm feeling with my right ring finger? And I started moving the dirt a bit more around it, and I noticed it was a perfectly clear quartz crystal. So I just gently moved some more dirt and unearthed it, picked it up, and it was round, but I could tell that it hadn't been carved around. It just somehow naturally was round. And I took out my handkerchief from my pocket and wiped off all the dirt and just held it up in the light, and just the energy of this round, perfectly clear quartz crystal was just amazing. I held it in my hand to my heart and just had tears of gratitude coming down my cheeks. And in that moment, when I held it to my heart, I could hear the mama whale in an inner realm communication, communicating to me. If I was to give it words, it was this: these are for you in my gratitude. And I wondered, these, it was plural. She didn't say, this is for you in my love and gratitude. These are for you. So as soon as I could feel, hear, know that communication from her as I was holding this crystal to my heart, I opened my eyes and I looked more closely at the area, and I just started moving the dirt around a little bit. And there was another one to the left in a straight line, about, maybe 3 inches, 4 inches, maybe 5 inches to the left of the first one. I moved the dirt around, and there was another one, another perfectly clear, naturally round quartz crystal. wiped off all the dirt with my handkerchief. Now I was holding one in one hand and one in the other. Wow. And I could feel that there was one more. Somehow she was like letting me know there was one more. So I looked even more closely. And if you were to imagine now to make a perfect triangle to a point pointing out toward the bay, there was the third one. The two, I found the one on the right and the one on the left making a straight line parallel to the cliff. And then the one at the point made a perfect triangle pointing out to the bay. 3 of these perfectly clear, naturally round quartz crystals. I held 2 in my left hand and 1 in my right hand and put both of my hands to my heart and just started sobbing with gratitude to the mama whale and the blue light and the love and the playfulness and the mystical nature of this experience that could not be explained, no matter how hard I try, as I'm trying to do now. In that moment, the owner of this property, who had become very friendly with me through the days that we were there, we had started to get to know each other in a very friendly way. We hit it off right from the first day that I arrived. He walks up and he says, "Mitch, I just saw her," and he's referring to the woman from Hawaii. I'm saying her instead of a name. I always keep everybody anonymous in my stories. And she shared with me some of what happened, and she was in a rush to go call some of her family members. "Can you tell me what happened?" So I tell him the whole thing, how we were chanting Om Namah Shivaya, and a perfect circle appears on the water down below us that draws both of our attention, and then we see this whale with this blue light flowing right into us, this love, this gratitude, this blue light of the whale flowing right into us. And that it lasted for a long flow, and then she swam out to the deeper ocean. I told him all the details. He said, "Mitch, are you aware that this is a known thing in the Polynesian lineage?" I said, "Yes, that's what she said to me." He said, "Wow. Well, what happened next?" I said, "Well, then she and I had a hug, and she left, and I pranamed, and underneath my right ring finger, I found this crystal." So I showed him the one in my right hand, and he got these giant eyes, and I handed it to him, and he held it to his heart. And then I showed him the other 2. He said, "There were 3 of them?" I said, "Yes," and they were arranged in a perfect triangle pointing out to the bay. He said, "Wow, Mitch, she has given these to you as a gift in gratitude." In that moment, I realized that this was his property. I said, "Oh, actually, these are yours. This is your land." He said, "Well, this really isn't my land. This is, sacred ground of the kahunas that have allowed me to, purchase this land and let there be retreats here. These are for you. You heard her communication. These are for you." I said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yes." In that moment, I just had this knowing that I wanted to, in my gratitude, have some crystals to put in that same triangular arrangement on the cliff. So I said to him, what would really feel good to me is if there is a crystal shop on the island, I would love to go there and buy 3 crystals and bring them back and in a very sacred way arrange them in that perfect triangular configuration and, dig holes and bury them down in there and really keep the energy of this cliff face with crystals. He said, "Oh, that's so kind of you." He said, "Yes, there is a crystal shop upland up in a little town called Makawao. It's a married couple and they have a crystal shop. If you drive up there, you'll see it." And he told me, how to get there from his property. And he wanted a hug, so I give him a big hug and I go get in my rental car and I drive the way that he said. And I pull into this really cute, quaint Hawaiian town called Makawao. And I find the crystal shop. And I've got the crystals, 2 of them in my left front pocket and the other one in my right front pocket. And when I walk into their crystal shop, the door rings a little bell, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, how some shops have those to let the shop owners know that someone has walked into their shop. And it was lunchtime, and so they were in the back. I could hear them having conversation. They knew I was there, and they were giving me time to look around. They didn't come out right away. And I'm looking at all the various crystals, and then more toward the part of the store toward the back where they were, I could hear them in a back room talking. There was a glass case with the crystals, that they have in crystal shops that they don't want you to have access to unless they, unlock the case. The more valuable crystals are in the glass case. So I was drawn to go look in the case, and right where I was looking through the glass, the top surface, there was a little cardboard box with 3 crystals arranged in a perfect triangular configuration. Instantly I knew, yes, those are the ones. And I realized they're in the glass case. They might be quite expensive. So I just knew in that moment, I've got my credit card, whatever they cost, I'm buying these and replacing them on the land so that the land can be properly honored. Right in that moment when I saw them, the wife of the couple came out from the room in the back, and she said, "Oh, hi. Do you see something you like?" And I said, "Yes." And I was pointing, to the ones in the case. So she walks over to see what I'm looking at. And as soon as she sees them, she says to me, no, she doesn't say it to me. She says to her husband, "Honey?" And he goes, "Yes." She goes, "Can you come out front, please?" He says, "Okay, just a minute." And, a little bit, he comes out, and she's pointing to the case, and she says to him, "Did you put these in the case?" He says, "No." And then he said to her, "Did you put these in the case?" And she said, "No." So she looks at me and she says, "I'm so sorry. These aren't supposed to be in the case. We both don't know how these got in the case. They're not for sale." I said, "Oh." And when that sound came out of me, it was an energy that she could feel. And she said, well, what just happened? Why are you drawn to these?" So I tell her the whole story. The chanting and the perfect circle on the surface of the water and the mama whale and the blue light and the crystal underneath my right ring finger, and that there's 3 of them in a perfect triangular arrangement, and that the only way I would feel comfortable is to buy some crystals and replace them on the land. I tell her the whole story. And her husband are standing there with total wonder looks on their face. And she says to me, one day many years ago, one of the elders of the Polynesian lineage, one of the kahunas, came into our shop when we first opened our shop and had this box of these 3 crystals arranged in this perfect triangular fashion. And he said, "One day someone will come into your store and you will know that these crystals are for them." She said, "I'm aware in this moment that these crystals are for you to go put back on the land." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much. Are you sure?" And she said, "Absolutely." So I reached in my pocket for my wallet, and she put up her hand and she said, "Oh, no. These are not for sale. These are a gift from the kahunas through us to you to the land." And I'm crying. They're crying. They walk around front. We have a group hug. It's this amazing experience. And they say to me, "Do you know that this is a known thing, the blue light of the whales?" I said, "Yes, everyone keeps telling me this." She said, "This is so rare. This is so wonderful. This is so lovely. We're so grateful to you for the way that you are honoring the land in this way." And she said to me, Thank you so much. And I said, thank you so much. We had a big hug. They gave me their phone number. Please call us and give us updates as to what unfolds from here. And I said, okay, absolutely. I go back to the property and go out on the cliff and pranam, thank the mama whale again, and dig, down into the dirt and place the 3 crystals in the perfect triangular arrangement pointing out to the bay, and cover it up with the dirt and pat it and tap it down really nice and firm. And just sent blessings and gratitude to the mama whale and to all the whales. So powerful and so lovely. At this point, I was reflecting on the experience and the words the owner of the property had shared with me regarding the wisdom that's shared from the kahunas, the Polynesian elders, that out beyond the Hawaiian Islands that are known and above the water's surface, there was an ancient land, he shared with me, that he had heard these stories from the kahunas, called Lemuria, and that there was a civilization of very wonderful evolved beings, and that the Polynesian spiritual lineage emerged from those people, that civilization. He said sometimes they refer to it as the land of Mu, M-U, Mu, and that it's also referred to as Lemuria, and that they've shared with him that there were many crystals that were placed at various points all throughout the land, and that these were probably from those days, these naturally round crystal spheres. And when I was in the crystal shop with the husband and wife, they also said to me that they've heard of these stories of the land of Lemuria, and that it was a known thing, they know a lot about crystals. They have a crystal shop. That the crystals that I showed them that I found on the land, they said these are what are called naturally round. These were not carved round. They grew naturally round. And that I was so lucky to have these, that they are so rare. As the days and weeks unfolded from receiving these 3 perfectly clear, naturally round quartz crystal spheres, I would always have 2 of them in my left front pocket and 1 in my right front pocket. And about a year after that experience, I was in an exploration with someone, and I could feel within my heart center that one of the 2 in my left front pocket was now to be given to her. And there was a part of me, that part of us that I call the wanter, that did not want to let go of it. So I had to face that attachment that had happened over the year, because I'd had them for a year, and be willing to let it go and be given so freely and naturally to her. And it felt so good to let it be shared from my heart to her. And it was a very powerful, very Very powerful experience for her. And then a year after that, I'm in an exploration with someone, and another moment that I'm supposed to now give one of the other two away, and it was the one in my right pocket. Give that one away. Once again, a little bit of an attachment, a little bit, but then freely given from my heart. It was very powerful for her. Very, very powerful. And the energy that they could feel, both of them that could feel from these. And I was aware that these were going to where they were meant to go. I was just the temporary steward of these that had found them and then helped get them to where they were to go. And then about a year after that, the final one, the last one that I had, was made very clear to me to be given to this other woman. They were given to 3 women, 3 different women. And each one of them still have them to this day on their altar, or in Sanskrit we would say puja. One of them, she sleeps with it underneath her pillow every night. Another one, she has it on a puja in her yoga center. Each one of them, these perfectly clear, naturally round quartz crystal spheres, have been given to them and been of great benefit to all 3 of them. And for me, this experience was life-changing. To get to experience the love, the compassion, the playfulness, the absolute joy and wonder that is the essence of whales, shared to both of us that day on that cliff overlooking the bay on the north shore of Maui. Pure love, pure blue light, pure grace, pure wonder, pure playfulness, absolute and indescribable. And so in this moment, as I'm sharing this, I have so much gratitude to the mama whale and to all the whales. And I'm aware that they emanate an energy that is very beneficial to the energetic dynamics of all living creatures on planet Earth. And they emanate loving blue light.